So your first name is William, but
Yep.
your middle name is
Judson,
Judson. Okay.
and I'm the fourth,
You're the fourth.
and there's a fifth out there. He's in Berlin right now,
He's in Berlin.
getting a PhD in planetary science.
Holy cow.
Yeah, right. My kid, like, he's so much smarter than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's incredible. Planetary science. I was like, is he serving in the military?
No,
Because you've had an illustrious military career.
I've done well,
Yes.
and I survived.
And you're now the head of aviation for the MGM.
I am.
And I've had you come teach at some of my law school classes
Sure.
and be a guest lecturer. And I love it when you say, that's what I do. It's not who I am.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, and now you're saying you want to be the least important person in the room.
That's how I try to act every single day.
So let's unpack that, because I think that is such a beautiful, virtuous, humble, not in a weak way, but there's
Yeah, I don't want people to,
yeah,
or anybody, I don't, so as we go through, and that it doesn't matter whether I'm at, whether I'm at church, whether, especially at work, right? We're going to talk about how I lead when that's my core. I'm at home. I'm in a social environment. I'm at Leadership Las Vegas,
sure.
right? How cool that would be. Like right now, there's three of us here, and I think I'm the least. I know. And for me, in my core, I know I'm the least important person in this room, right? Because I know what you're trying to do. I think Sana's probably doing some amazing things, but if I think that, that means I'm supporting you. I'm supporting her, right? And if she thinks that, now I have two people looking out for what they think is the best for Butch Barton. I work with 61 amazing people, not including the support staff that is in corporate.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can get everybody else to that one person to put everybody else forward in front and try to elevate them, we're unstoppable.
Oh, it's so powerful. But it's also, you're embodying what Christ said when he said, the greatest among you will be the servant. Which becomes a paradox, because
Right.
you're trying to be in this place of, I'm the least important,
But I'm
you're serving. Don't get me wrong, I don't mean to be critical of it.
Right.
I think it's wonderful,
right.
because that's what he invited us all to do, was to serve each other.
And it's not hubris, right?
Yeah,
because like I said, it is at some point over the next hour, however long we talk, I'm very proud of what I've accomplished. I'm very
Yeah,
There's
you're really cool.
there's a certain amount of ego that goes into that, and with that there's a certain amount of arrogance, and I try to keep that in a little tiny building that's locked up somewhere in the back of my brain.
You're just stripping the arrogance away, and you're like,
I'm really trying, and I'm human, so sometimes it does come out as you're being boastful or you're being braggadocious, and I don't want to be that guy.
well, you have a lot of really cool stories. I know you don't want to talk about combat.
We're
That's
not.
fine. Yeah, that's fine. But I mean, even just flying airplanes. I mean, first of all, that already. What's the joke you always say? How do you know?
How do you know a pilot's in the room?
Yeah.
Wait 5 minutes and they'll tell you.
Okay, so there's the ego.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it's someone who's dancing across the sky every day for their
You're
job.
you are literally you're skidding, right? You're balancing everything, right? Pitch, roll, yaw, power setting, and if you think about that, how to keep something perfectly balanced, right? And so the people in the back don't get scared,
Yeah.
right? We have a saying, "Don't scare the money." If somebody in the back, it doesn't matter if you're on Southwest Airlines, you're the money, you're in the back of the airplane, and you don't want to scare them,
Yeah.
right? And we have people that are afraid of flying. We have people that are afraid of thunderstorms. I'm afraid of thunderstorms. I know what's inside of them. They suck.
Yeah.
But you stay away from them. It's pretty easy.
Sure. So that's I mean, that in and of itself is cool.
Right.
The fact that you've been able to do this thing, you've been able to be literally the person steering the life of 60 or 100 or whatever people.
So pilots do a great job and I respect every one of my colleagues. They're absolutely amazing at what they do, and they make it look very, very easy. And I think every airline pilot out there makes it look very, very easy, right? It's an extremely safe way to fly, the safest out there. It's enjoyable. It's fun. And I'm going to say this to everybody that's not in aviation, and I say that wants to be. It's not hard, right? You're driving down the road. You don't know why your hand's going like this. You don't know why your toe's up on the gas pedal. You don't know why your foot's going to the brake pedal.
That's
right. And it's intuitive. And
Yeah.
at a certain point, and pilots, when they reach a certain level, it's the same thing. Now, the rules of the road suck. And if something goes wrong in an aircraft, right, you have to be prepared. And that's where that's the separation. The mechanics of flying an airplane when everything's perfect is not hard. You're doing 600 miles an hour, right, over the air, but
Yeah.
or over the ground. But
Is that how fast they fly?
so if you look at ground speed, right? So ground speed, airspeed, true airspeed, and all that. But over the ground, yeah, it's not uncommon to see 600, 700 miles an hour
That's very
over the
fast.
ground.
Okay, so why do you want to be the least important person in the room then?
So if I equate that to work,
Okay.
what I do, and I work with 61 amazing people. If my job is to create an environment where, if you, let's say where you were my chief pilot, I create an environment for him to be totally successful, right? And by doing that, I know the pilot group is taken care of, right? So I serve him in creating an environment for him. And running pilots is fun and challenging and all that, right? But I have to create a separate environment for my flight attendant group for them to be successful. Maybe they need a little bit be more nurtured, and then they're going to be successful, but in a different way than the pilot group. Have an operations center, and those the hourly employees that I have to create that environment. And so most leaders will come in and say, hey, this is the environment for the flight department, and it's an umbrella environment. Everybody operates under the same scope. It doesn't work. It'll never work. And same thing, and imagine that would be like in any part of business.
You got to tailor.
You have to tailor it, and it's a lot of work. But the other part of that is when they succeed, it's their success, right? I can't help but get pulled along with them when I do that.
Yeah.
So that's the way I look at it, and that's where, I'll be 60 in April. And
Happy birthday.
Thank you, buddy. A little early, but yeah, we'll get there. But for them to succeed, I'm so proud of that, right? I might have had a part of it. I might have like, hey, I want you to run with this idea and run with it, right? And see that success. That is pretty cool to watch that happen, right? And when they get the accolades with that, I'm part of that organization. I'm running the organization, but
so
I don't want to be in the spotlight. So that makes me uncomfortable. This makes me uncomfortable, but a good friend of mine told me that, hey, you have to get out there a little bit more.
Yeah.
Remember when he said that? Yeah, I remember that.
So instead of trying to play king of the mountain, get on the top of the pyramid, what you're saying is you want to be at the base lifting it up because you're still part of the pyramid. You're still part of the.
But but still, it's like they do the work, right? I want them to succeed. If my team succeeds, I can't help but succeed.
Oh, I love that.
Right. And I will give them, I want to create that environment where they succeed. I have a director of maintenance, and she's absolutely amazing. And she gets embarrassed when I say she's the best in the world, but she absolutely is. And I will do anything for her. Right. And I just get out of her way, quite frankly. I'm like, hey, do you want me involved? No. Okay. I'm going to go back to my office. Let me know what you need. The pilot group I'm more involved with, right? Because I still fly.
Yeah.
Flight attendant group I'm very involved with because I want to make sure that our guests are taken care of in the caliber that they are.
So let's say you have someone you're trying to lift and they are a pilot and their ego's getting in the way, or they're putting things out of order, unnecessary risk, whatever.
Fire them. I get rid of them. I don't, and we'll talk about that. And I cut you off. So
no. So if somebody's out of line, if they're putting themselves before others, you're like, you're gone.
You're done.
Okay. Let's say it's less egregious. I thought you might say that. Let's say it's less egregious. It's just someone who needs an extra nudge, someone who needs some correction to be better. How do you handle that?
So I tell pilots all the time, I said, listen, I want you to, and again, it's about creating that environment, right? And that's what I think leaders should do, is create an environment. I've made every mistake in an airplane, right? I've screwed up checklists. I've done a procedure wrong. I haven't been an airplane. I haven't crashed an airplane. And I've had some things definitely go wrong in airplanes. If somebody is, as a human being, if they're reading a checklist or doing a checklist and they make an honest mistake, they went from step 13 to step 15. Well, step 14 was kind of important, and, something happens. Let's have a conversation about it. Why did that happen? Right?
Turn it into a learning
point. Yeah. We go back and we look at it, right? Okay. So those sort of things, I will work with you. I'll do whatever I can for you. I don't burn them. Absolutely, I don't burn them for that. If it's an honest mistake, and they deserve to be there. And the reason I say that is we hired them, right? Yeah. We took a chance on them by bringing them in. So we are really in the culture that I'm creating, trying to create is, mistakes are going to happen. That's what we do with those mistakes.
Sure.
It's the mistakes. Like, here's a great example is, our fatigue program, that I don't want tired pilots. I don't want tired mechanics. I don't want tired flight attendants. If you wake up after 9 hours of sleep and you're like, I'm not feeling it, my head's not in the game. And I always say, if the weather's not right, the plane's not right, or you're not right, stop. Don't go. Give me a call. Right? Talk to our safety guy, actually. We'll pull you off a flight. I'll pay $45,000 for a charter aircraft. I'll do whatever. And we have team members that they take you up on that. And that's a great feeling. They talk to the safety guy. I don't really know about it other than, hey, we had a fatigue call. The other side of that coin is when I give you that responsibility to say, hey, I'm not good enough today, right? We're talking about the individual now. We've had pilots that go out and they show up, and we've had one gentleman that his wife told him at 7:30 in the morning, I'm leaving you, we're getting a divorce, and he thought it would be a great idea to go fly, and a mistake was made. And I'm like, sucks to be you. Guess what? You had the golden key to, all you had to do is make one phone call and walk away. Yeah. And so I don't tolerate those sort of things because our business is too unforgiving, right? If you look at, we've talked about it in your class, what happened earlier in this year, right? What can happen when, we call it the Swiss cheese model, when all those holes line up, and what happens when a mishap actually makes it all the way through. A lot of people can get killed. And I don't want that, right? And so it's kind of, you're protecting them, you're protecting the company, you're protecting everybody you're flying with, you're protecting the poor people in the back that are just innocent, at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very forgiving until I'm not. And then there's not a lot of emotion in it. It's just the way it is. And it has to be that way in aviation. So
no, you got to be very careful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very clear.
Yeah.
So let's shift gears just a little bit. And so when you and I met, we were doing Leadership Las Vegas, which is really cool. And you're like this big, rough and tough, burly, former military.
Big, bald, and intimidating.
Yeah, you are big, bald, and intimidating. Yeah. And big energy. You're not quiet. You're not a shrinking violet.
Nope.
And then I started to see that, obviously beneath that exterior, there was this deep sense of commitment to virtue and God. And you were on, when we met, you were on this path to discover what you believed, and if that, or maybe
I'm going to say it a different way. Listen, I've always believed in Christ, right?
Sure.
I've read the Bible, and
how to worship. Maybe you were trying to figure
it out. And that's what it is, right? And so here I am. I'm walking this path by myself. Okay, we got all these churches out there, but me and God, we're tight. We got this connection, right?
Yeah, that's great.
And that's cool. I want everybody to have that connection, but the problem is that when you make up your own rules, you kind of make rules that are easy for you, right? And if you look at how, there's Jesus walking with his apostles and his disciples and everything, and he said, I want you guys to do this, this, and this, and then I don't know, 100 years later, somebody walks over here and they say, hey, we're going to do it this way. Yeah. And then we're going to do it this way. Well, I was kind of out here doing this, and I'm like, I'm going to navigate myself to the kingdom of heaven.
Yeah.
And so it was more of a journey of finding a religious entity or a church. I had to start living by somebody else's rules to get there, and I tried them all. I'll tell you right now, and I ended up where I'm comfortable. Yeah. And we talked about it last night. It's called OCIA now, Adult Catechism, and I'm comfortable there. A lot of kneeling, a lot of standing up, a lot of kneeling, back and forth. But I'm super comfortable. And the funny part is that I met this guy at a park. We're walking with him, and he's really kind of quiet. And all of a sudden, my wife comes home, and she goes, hey, you know that guy? I'm like, yeah, what about him? He doesn't really talk a lot, says hi. She goes, yeah, he's a Catholic priest. I'm like, what? And him and I became friends. And then one day he just grabbed me, and he never talked religion. Never, which you think was odd. That's his business. Yeah, he's a priest, right? And he grabs me and he goes, you're more Catholic than you know. And 3 or 4 months later, I'm reading the Bible, I'm going through the Gospels and all that sort of stuff, and I'm like, I'm gonna go talk to Vince at work. Yeah. And April's like, what? I'm like, I'm gonna go talk to Vince at work. And that night I started. So
wow.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
And so you feel like you now have this path, the path of discipleship. Is that what you call it?
I'm no longer homeschooled, and that's probably the best way of saying it, right? Because you go through, right? And listen, you want to talk about and before, it was, I treated the Bible like a buffet.
Uh,
I really like Job, right?
oh, Job's incredible.
He's my,
We've talked about Job.
yeah, we've talked about Job, and that's why I bring it up.
Yeah.
I mean, I love his loyalty.
Oh,
That's it. He's the man, right? Isaiah, got him tattooed on my
I was
arm
gonna
right
say
there.
Isaiah next. Yeah,
Yeah, I got Isaiah next, right
Yeah.
out there. And I'm like, okay, I got first Thessalonians, give thanks in all things.
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, great. But guess what? It was always Job. It was always Isaiah. A little bit of Mark, a little bit of Luke, a lot of John.
Mm.
There's a whole bunch that I'm leaving out.
Mm.
Right. So now I have this structure. So again, I'm no longer homeschooled. Believe me, at OCIA, it's like, oh, what? Where's that at? And you got to go find it.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying the process.
That's awesome.
So, and that's what it is. It's giving structure to my relationship with Christ.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the best thing in the world. I'm like, okay, cool. My friend Vince, he's still now Father Vince, when he's at work, he's just laughing. He's like, yeah, I knew it.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm having fun with it.
That's so cool. Well, I think we've talked about how I went to Catholic law school,
right,
in DC,
mm-hmm.
and I teach there now because
yeah. Last night,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And so, I've always
got an email from some of your students this morning.
I'm sure you did because they were thrilled. I always get so many compliments when you come talk because they're just like, and this is a cool group because they're in DC and they're
it's kind of free flowing.
Yeah, and they're regulatory minded. They're thinking about.
Group of last night was.
Yeah, it was fun, right? Super smart, right?
Oh my God, you guys are.
They're deep. They were going deep. Yeah. And you just like swam right with them.
Yeah.
But so you're going through this process, and Catholicism is a beautiful religion. I mean, nobody does pomp and circumstance. Like
there's a little bit of ceremony in that, right?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, my graduation was so cool.
Yeah.
I mean, my prior graduation was BYU, and it was like, here's some ice cream and some balloons.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
So, what is it that drew you to the Catholic Church? Because I have sincere honor for the Catholic Church. I'm a fan.
Honestly, I feel comfortable there, and everything is drawn right from the Bible, right? A little bit of Old Testament, a little bit of New Testament. I've struggled with religions in the past that there's this air of perfection. And the Catholics, pretty much within the first 2 minutes of officially starting the Mass, is I'm acknowledging my sins to you, my brothers and sisters. And I'm like, wow, man, we're starting off with, hey, we need help, right?
Yeah.
We're hurting right now, come to me.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that, right? I don't believe in perfection. Perfection exists in God's and in kids with, I always say, and I mean no disrespect, but I mean it because every person I've met with Down syndrome is absolutely amazing. The most pure heart, right? Yeah. The innocence that's there and the pure of heart. And I always say that, perfection exists in Christ and in people with Down syndrome, just because they're so friendly, they're so loving, and they're giving so much. And again, I don't mean any disrespect, and I don't mean that.
No, but I think it's like.
But does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like what Christ said when the apostles were trying to keep the children away.
Right.
And he was like, no, let them come because of such is the kingdom of heaven, right?
Right.
He was like, you need to become like a child.
Yeah. And I absolutely love it. And that's what draw me. I'm a sinner, and my thoughts, my words, my actions, what I've done, what I've failed to do, and trying to get better.
Well, I can tell.
Trying to get better.
Yeah, and that's the path, right? Is learning how to be a disciple of.
I really, really, really hope that when I get to heaven, hopefully I get to heaven, that they accept progress and not perfection, because I'm failing miserably at perfection, man. Yeah.
Well, it's so cool you say that, because last night I was talking to my daughter, and she was stressed, and she's incredible and extremely talented and high performing, all this stuff. And we finally had this moment where, because in the LDS faith, we'll give blessings, right? Like, because every member who's male has the priesthood. We're all priests. I'm a high priest, right?
Right.
And so I give her a blessing, and we're talking about let God prevail, which is what Israel means. This idea. And she's like, I know, and she's just so sad. And she's like, I know I'm supposed to be doing these things, and I'm like, that's what's so great is you're not going to get it right.
Yeah.
And God will fill the gap. There's just all this grace, and just keep trying. And she was like, oh yeah.
Well, you talk about, people talk about, I say it all the time, difference in grace and mercy, right? And you're going through, that's pretty deep.
That is deep. Unpack that.
Yeah.
Explain the two.
Grace is when you get something that you do deserve or you don't deserve, right? And grace is when you don't get something you do deserve, right? And so you go on, you make a big mistake, and God's like, if you're honest in your commitment, he'll be like, okay,
Yeah.
let's work on that.
Yeah.
And
Mercy speaks about the goodness of God. I think
yeah,
grace
and
is more
that's
about him lifting you up.
yeah, and people don't understand it, right? Not people are going to make mistakes, yeah, and we do it all the time at work, right? We're going to make a mistake every single day. It's what do we do with that? And we got to live by that.
Yeah.
Because if you're, I have leaders that they strive for perfection and they're miserable because they're never going to find it. And I see that in leadership all the time. It's those task-driven managers that, they have to get the highest marks. They have to do all this. And you're like, dude, you're missing a point, right? Build your team up. Let them lift you and carry you. That's how you're going to be successful.
Yeah, I love that.
And that's the reason I'm successful at what I do, is because I have some amazing people. Amazing. Like, get out of their way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
I have some amazing people like that at work.
yeah.
Yeah, it's that there's such power in that. So, C.S. Lewis, tell me what you think about this. C.S. Lewis once said, he wrote the Chronicles of Narnia, and a Christian apologist, very into the idea of having a relationship with Christ, and he said that you've never met a mere mortal. That cultures, languages,
Right.
These things are mortal, but and they have a life and a death. But the individuals we interact with are destined to either become such amazing, glorious beings that you would be tempted to worship them,
Right.
or such immortal horrors that you'd only find them in your nightmares. So tell me what you think about that. Because you're not perfect now, but you're on this path to try and become like Christ.
Here's the bottom line. I'm never going to get there, right? I'm going to do my best, but you see what you want to see, right? So if I want to find bad in you, I'm going to find it, right? And that's with anything. And I choose to see the best.
Yeah.
Right. And this definitely with the religious tone of the conversation. I've been around the world a couple times, and I've seen the perfection that exists in nature. I've seen the perfection that exists in people. And talking about people that uplift you. I'm in India, New Delhi. I don't know if you've ever been.
No.
It's absolutely, I've been there, I don't know, 7 or 8 times. It's pretty amazing. And we're driving through the city, and the embassy had set us up. I was in the military time, set us up a vehicle, and we go through, and they have dumps, like for the normal trash. We're not talking construction debris, but trash. And the whole city is just, there's a dump here, a dump there, and you go around, and there's one that's in the middle of a city square, almost like a traffic circle. And we're going through, and there's people picking for the trash, right? Because they do believe in the hierarchy. Is their next life, they're going to go one step up and then one step up. Where right now they're just down at the bottom and they're happy. So these people are foraging, and here comes a dump truck backing up right to where these people are. And if I said the police, I don't know, people that manage the dump come out with these big canes and start beating them. And they're just like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm getting beat. I'm trying to find something. And I looked over, and it turned out they had a house made out of like cardboard and plastic sheets and stuff like that. And they dumped an entire, like an American trash truck right on top of their house. And people just stood to the side, very calm. Like, okay, this is just the way it is. This is our life. They dug down to the bottom. And I watched all this in an amazingly long red light.
Okay.
And all of a sudden, these people went headfirst right in this fresh pile of trash. And somebody popped out with I only imagine hey, that was, something I've had. This is one of my belongings that is now underneath all this trash. And they just started again. Here comes somebody with one of those blue tarps. And they just started again. And I was more inspired by that this person you're not going to get me down. I'm just going to keep on doing what I got to do, right? Trying to get better and reach that higher position.
Wow.
And, you go out and you see how poorly other humans treat people,
Mm.
right? Okay, that's the bad. But then you see how people react to that, and that's pretty amazing, right? And I'll never forget that mom and those two kids and the dad. Like, hey, let's go get our stuff, man. We're good. We're still together. They're smiling, and I'm like, wow, how can you smile during that? You're living in trash. Somebody just dumped more trash on top of your house, and you're still smiling, and you were just getting beat with a 8-foot section of cane. It's crazy over there, living with monkeys.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But
And
that was inspiring.
to see that
Right.
they were resilient. They were
Same thing with the Middle East. You see people over there, and they're just so resilient. And it's pretty amazing to watch.
wow.
So,
Well,
but
so
then
what drives you to be resilient?
the question you haven't asked, but there is
Okay.
well, hold on. There's nothing that is going to happen today that I can't handle. Nothing.
Uh-huh.
Right? That is just the way it is. Right? And now you're seeing a little bit of arrogance.
No, but I would say that's confidence.
It's confidence, but and again, there's layers of an onion like an ogre, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like that. But um, just the way it is. That's the way my mind works. There's nothing that's going to happen today that I can't handle. That I can get through it.
And is it you because you've lived through so many experiences and you've dealt with so many challenges, or is it because of what you believe in?
It's
Or is it something else?
One, I was raised by an absolute, there's Mother Mary, who was apparently the perfect mom, but then there's my mom, right? Absolutely just amazing woman. Still afraid of her. Lost her 15 years ago. I'm still afraid of her. Afraid of letting her down.
Yeah.
That's not going to get me to cry. I forgot this, by the way.
What does that say? I love you, Mom.
That's my mom's signature from a Christmas card.
Oh.
So I put it on my arm. And then, she didn't tolerate a lot of, don't feel sorry for yourself, right? But she talked me through it. It wasn't like a rough or a coarse thing or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then she let me go do some amazing adventures. And then as a young man, she had assigned me away in the military. So I joined when I was 17.
Oh, wow.
And then I did some stuff, and then I got into aviation. And, those formative years as a young man really kind of set you on a path that set you up for that mindset.
It was your mom.
It started with my mom,
Yeah.
right? Definitely, it was my dad. I love him. I really don't like him. I've got to work with that with God, but that's okay. I'll figure that out.
And that's not that uncommon. There is this tension often between sons and fathers.
No, he was a dick.
Okay.
Yeah, he was just a dick, right? It was a very loving father and stuff like that, but he was very ego driven.
Oh.
And then we went through a nasty divorce, and my mom's like, "Yeah, okay, great, let's go, let's get to work." I thought that was pretty cool.
Mm.
And
So what's your? Okay, keep going.
No.
Well, so what's your why?
My why?
Why do you pick back up? Why do you? It sounds like it's tied to your mom. You don't want to disappoint her.
No, I'm not going to disappoint my mom. I'm not going to disappoint myself. I'm not going to disappoint my team. That's my why. And my team right now is you, and it's Sana, right? My team at work is my team at work. And I go from, in the morning, it's April and my 3 dogs, which shout out to the 50-pound, 55-pound, 10-month-old English Bulldog.
Okay.
That's a challenge. So it's April and I versus the world. My boys are out in the world and they're doing great things and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, sounds like it.
I go to work and it's me and my team. I'm not going to let them down. That scares me. I mean, you said, okay, my job's to get you to cry. No, I'll cry if I let my team down.
Mm-hmm.
So there's another caveat, but I can't let them down. That's scary. I mean, it scares me. If I truly disappoint them or if I don't do something. And then I go back at, church a couple times a week and stuff like that. That's my team.
Sure.
So I have to be focused. Like right now, I'm focused on you. I have to be focused on them. I have to be focused on everybody else. That's it. That is my why.
What is it that terrifies you about letting somebody down?
It doesn't you?
Well, I'm asking you.
I don't know. It's not, I've failed many of times. Um,
And so it's not failure in and of itself.
it's not failure.
Mm.
No, we've all failed.
Sure.
You kidding me? I'm going to fail again. And you know what? And I'm going to get back up and eventually I'm going to win.
Uh-huh.
I don't want to see disappointment,
Mm.
you know, and I do. And it's one of those things that it might be unfair to myself or whatever it is. But I mean, I'm scared to death of letting April down, right? Scared to death of letting my team down at work. And so I get up every day and I'm like, all right, let's go.
Mm. It's that commitment,
Yeah,
absolute commitment.
it has to be.